Most brands start on social media posting this, which is soon met with a response like this. Not. In fact, for most that take this approach, the response is probably something more familiar to this. So then how did my client Yunus gain 52,000 followers in just over 30 days with his clothing brand?
And since then, it's been nuts, completely crazy. And I went from 363 followers to more than 55,000 today. Very crazy.
In today's video, I'm going to be sitting down with the brand owner behind Quantata, who's going to break down the exact strategy that we implemented to see these kinds of results in his brand.
I was really struggling with what type of content can I create. So I was struggling with ideas. My engagement was really low. It's very difficult that when you are working very hard and you don't see any results. My levels of frustrations were very high at that point.
So Yunus first reached out to me through the Superfan Club, which is the community I run for brand owners, and I could tell he was frustrated. He'd been trying to sell his product for a few months.
After the 3 months working, I felt so frustrated that I needed to find help.
But like most brands, he couldn't quite figure it out. He only had about 300 followers, was working a full-time day job. He had a kid in school, and so even more than most people, had more commitments. So this was going to be a fun challenge. How do you feel now?
So things have changed a lot, but I feel that the most important change that has happened inside me. So that would be for me the most important thing. And after the call, I made a video that went very, very viral. It gave me lots of engagement and followers. And it somehow like gave me many ideas, plus knowing better my target audience.
And did you spend money to get those followers?
No, absolutely nothing. I was actually spending money before.
At the beginning of our session, one of the first things I noticed was that Yunus was posting these videos that were getting all of these views, but he only had 300 followers. The content wasn't that great, and there was 0 engagement. And so it was immediately very clear what was going on here. When I asked him about it, yeah, it just, it checked out.
What I was doing is that since my organic content was not getting any reach, I decided, okay, if it's not working organically, I'm going to start paying ads.
What I suspected was true.
If I spend, I don't know, 50 euros, then I got some followers, you know, but that's definitely not the right path, because first of all, as you told me, which I think is very important, when you spend ads, you can't really know if the content was good or was not good, because you are forcing people to watch it.
Yeah, Yunus has really hit the nail on the head here. And that's the very problem that I see in a lot of brands, that early on when they don't see the results, they just put money into it, they boost the content. You don't actually learn what works without the failures. And so to any brands that are starting out on Instagram, they're not sure how to create organic content that kills. Ads is one thing, boosting posts is an absolute no-no, because you need to be able to see what is the true response from what you actually put out in the world, because that allows you to determine, okay, we're going to do more of this and less of that going forward. And then instead of pouring money into it into the future and getting little to no results, you can get much more results for free.
The thing is, you must know which content is good. And if it's not working, it's 95% chance that it's because it is not good enough. That's the thing.
So maybe you're like Yunus, you were boosting posts before, now you're convinced it's not the right thing. The truth is, you're going to go backwards before you go forwards, because, well, you're just not boosting anymore. Your views are going to take a little dip.
Try to be very self-critic and not say, no, this content is good because I feel it's good. No, you must really understand how the psychology of a content consumer works, you know. And of course, always like try to learn a lot from people who already achieved big things.
See, like those bottom few lines of content there, were those the ones that you were boosting before?
Yeah, so I actually got many of them archived, you know. So right now, I mean, this was boosted. For example, this was my first reel. This is so I got 50,000 views, only boosted, literally boosted. So that was only, you know, paid. I was literally struggling to get likes and comments. I can't even tell you, you know. So the engagement I got with boosting posts was definitely not much. I mean, not much. It was actually very, very low. very low.
But trust me, Yunus and I are laying out this framework that's hopefully going to help you see some similar results as he has too. The next thing we did was define the brand identity. And this is where we really get clear about who this brand is for. And this is the first thing you need to do before we can see the growth in your content once again. Oh, and by the way, make sure to stick around to the end when I'll be giving Yunus the exact steps to be turning his audience into a highly gauged, loyal customer community. More on that soon.
So my identity, it was not really defined, but I knew more or less what I wanted my identity to be, right? But after the call, it like literally gives you like goggles to see clearly everything, you know?
Yeah, this was great. Such a victorious moment to finally get to the point where we're not just aimlessly posting about the products, but we're clear about who we're targeting and why they might want to buy our clothing. You might be watching this and thinking, okay, this is great. How do I create this brand identity for my own? Here's the exact framework that I actually went through with Yunus, and it starts with asking yourself two questions. If you want to find your brand identity, ask yourself, who is someone that embodies your brand? I'm thinking about a friend, a family member, maybe it's a celebrity. And then you can continue on that question and ask what traits, interests, values, etc. align with your brand. And those two questions are going to give you this awesome head start that puts you ahead of most brands and their knowledge, and it's going to be so much easier when we revisit content in a moment about how to create that. I get a lot of messages with people asking me, hey Elijah, is this brand identity good enough? Well, here's an activity so you can just check yourself. I want you to describe what your brand is about without mentioning your product in one concise sentence. Yeah, Yunus, I'm curious to know if you were to summarize your brand identity in one sentence, what would you say?
It's a community of young gentlemen, people who loves or pursues excellence and I don't want to say high class lifestyle because that's not really the case, but achieving all their goals, which means living a very comfortable life, let's say.
And if you can do that, then your brand identity is there. If not, go back to the drawing board, think about those two questions a little more, heck, even use ChatGPT. What was the content strategy from the brand identity that did so well? And how did we come up with that idea from the brand identity?
So the first thing is mention that I was very, very conscious that my content needed to be mainly of lifestyle, because I know that's the way how you grow an account, because people want to consume content that they like. I remember that when we did the content strategy, we were talking about creating content related to all these high-class lifestyle.
This is the part where lots of brands get it wrong, and it was the same case with Yunus. Everything in the content strategy up until this point has been product content, and here is why. I want you to imagine you're watching an ad on YouTube, and you've got the timer, it's ticking down. What happens when it gets to the end? You press skip on the ad, of course. In fact, that's probably what you just did just now. Hahaha. Well, the same thing's true when you post about your products. It's an ad. It's you saying, hey, buy this stuff. Dear customer, buy this t-shirt. And so if your page is just filled with product content, you become a big old ad. That's why we start with building a brand identity, because when we do, and we know who you're targeting and what your brand's about, what the lifestyle is about, even beyond the products, because we can start creating content that's selling that lifestyle. What was the specific content idea that did so well on your page?
The content was talking about the old money lifestyle. That was the video that made my account viral, literally. And from then, I made many, many other videos related to old money and also other things. A lot of people think that they're going to get viral by posting videos of the products. That's not the case. I feel like that what you say always, I think is very important, which is 80% lifestyle content and 20%, let's say, more product content.
Yeah, this was a really cool content pillar. Essentially, what he was doing is creating these montages of people living that old money lifestyle. Nice cars, living as a classy man, a gentleman, eating out at nice places. And he would have some kind of voiceover of this really deep, raspy voice. Sounds like a rich guy.
The quiet assurance of a man who knows his worth.
And basically explaining what it means to be a gentleman. It was all in Spanish, so if you can read it, amazing. But this was really cool. And it clearly was something that resonated and it hit very early on with his audience.
And I feel like a business must have two different engines. One is gaining new attention, and the second one is monetizing that attention.
There's a concept similar to this that Gary Vee speaks about, and it's jab, 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 hook. And what it is talking about is giving 3 times or 4 times more value than asking and taking from people. It's because you have to build goodwill with an audience. In the case of a clothing brand, the value that you give in your content is entertainment, inspirational, education, again, aligned with your brand identity. And that was the case. What Yunus was doing was teaching people how to be a gentleman. And so insert your brand identity. That's going to be the value through your content. They just happen to be wearing your product in the process. And then occasionally, but far less than your value content, you come out and you say, hey guys, by the way, if you really believe in this lifestyle, we're doing a clothing drop. Here is your ticket to be a part of the community. For someone that doesn't know what a trial reel is, can you break down what the feature is?
Basically, you can post a video, a reel, that it will only show it to people that are not following you. That means that the audience that you already have will not see the video. Only people that is not following you. It's powerful because, one, you can post videos that you may not want to post to your audience, share with your audience. You can post it in trial reels and see if it works. If it works, then it's perfect, right?
What Yunus didn't mention here was that people that see your trial reels can actually still follow you. So it's gonna build your audience. It's just not gonna show on your main page. Game changer.
You can, let's say, post 5 different versions of the same video with a different hook. Then you say which one has worked the best, has performed the best, and you take that video that has performed the best and you share it with your audience. You can post it on trial reels and then also on your feed.
Yeah, this is super powerful. You can essentially spam your audience with testing content. And I said audience, but it's not going out to your audience. That's why you can do it. So only the best performers will show on your page. And so with such a repeatable content pillar like these how to be a gentleman, rich life montages, he could basically use the same voiceover, the same script, but just like change the hook, just change the introduction, just change maybe some of the images to see and study minor differences in the content and basically take notes and analyze, work out what works and what doesn't.
Actually, the video that got very, very viral is not even posted on my feed. I've got the same video uploaded in trial reels and also in my feed. The one in trial reels has now 650,000 views. And the one on my feed has 185 or something like that, I think, right?
Yeah, I think even since this video, Yunus's page has even blown up even further. From memory, when we did this debrief, he was at like 48K. Now he's at 60K. And it's with the same strategies as before, the same content pillar that he was just posting over again and again and again. And it just comes down to repeating what works and finding out what works in the first place with trial reels.
I am always informing about the new updates on the collection, right? I ask everything to my audience.
Now, the way that most social media brands go about building is that they create a product, then they start their Instagram, they market that product for the first time for a couple of weeks, and then they release it. Only problem is a few weeks to market and release a product isn't enough time to sell out your 50 unit bulk order. And so if you're like some of the brands that I speak to, you might find yourself with a garage full of clothing boxes as we speak that are collecting dust that you can't get rid of. Now, if you're not in that position, good news for you is I'm going to show you how not to get there.
Let's say, for example, the designs. I haven't done it with my audience, but the name of the collection, story behind the collection. There are many things that I ask to my audience. I do it in a way that I can get the information, So it's not always like asking directly, like, what would, do you like this design or this design? Maybe you could ask something like, what would you like in a very elegant shirt, for example? What design are the types that you like? And then you get all the information,
What we've done here with Yunus is we've switched around the order. Where most brands start with creating a product and then create content around it, we have built a brand and content and audience first, and then, now we've got 70,000 people. Let's go and test a product. It's a lot easier that way to find a winning product. It doesn't have to be a guessing game. It can be based on stats, on polls, and so on and so forth. The cool part that we didn't mention here was that when the community feels involved in the decision making, they also feel like a part of themselves is in the product, and so there's an obligation to buy it, almost, but in a really positive way. It's the same way that you feel like you should wear your own products because you feel like there's so so much love and effort that goes into creating their designs. Why wouldn't you wear your own products? You put that responsibility in the hands of your audience too when you give them decisions and choices, this one or that one. You take them along the process, and you can only do that when you begin creating content and building an audience before you release your first products. I want to talk about maybe some things that you could do next, Yunus, to make this work really well and to actually utilize all these views.
Yeah, I see.
So one of the ways that I thought that you could do that is you could, instead of just creating content that's giving value to the community, you could actually create content with the community themselves. So actually finding people that follow your brand, that are in your local area, in your region, that are open to creating stuff, and maybe creating some new type of content pillar that's maybe about them and their businesses, since it's about entrepreneurship or since it's about living that classy lifestyle. That could be a really great idea.
Yeah, that would be very powerful, actually.
What ideas are sparked about ways that you believe that you could incorporate actual people that follow you into the content to make stuff with them?
I have already talked to some friends of mine, and we are going to make an event.
Yeah. So the most obvious content that you could create with that is just like event recaps.
Yeah,
like
yeah, of course,
what,
of course.
like showing what happens at the event, like some of the wines that people are tasting, almost like nude project. So you could do that, but even like to take it a level up, what you could do is when people are like tasting the wine, you could tell stories about these people. And one of the ways you could do that is asking people about maybe what some of their entrepreneurial dreams are. Like when people tasting the wine, you're asking them about this business.
That's a good idea, actually. So I'm going to have it in mind. 100%. It's a good idea.
And so to implement a strategy like this, there's a few things that you'll probably need. First of all, use the followers that you have to put like a poll out there, like especially for people that live in a particular area specific to where you're going to do this event. And the poll should say, yes, I'd be interested in coming. No, I'm not interested in coming. And for everyone that responds that they're interested, what I would recommend doing is sending them a DM on Instagram and just keep the process really manual, because it allows you to make sure that you're getting as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Another suggestion is to even have a stepping stone to these in-person events, something like an online community on a platform. I probably wouldn't choose Discord for your brand because like it's more high-class individuals. But if you could have even like a WhatsApp group, even like you can also create like a community on Slack, or if not Slack, you could even use a platform like School or maybe like a Facebook group.
So I'm actually going to create now a WhatsApp community.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like if you're going to create, like, if there's any specific next steps, I would say the first one, definitely make some moves on that online community. Then step 2 would be to create some kind of in-person event like your wine tasting event and invite the people from that online community to an in-person space, as well as Instagram followers. Yeah. And then finally use that event to start creating content with real people in the community. And then also take their contacts to continue creating stuff and incorporating them into your next campaigns, even beyond that event. And that way you can create a strategy that is repeatable and you can keep consistently over time.
I see. That's very, very good ideas, Elijah. Yeah.
I hope this was helpful anyway, Yunus.
It was.
Yeah. By the way, I thought I should let you know that you can get yourself a free community roadmap by clicking the link and booking in a free call in the description. It's going to give you the exact steps that you should take going forward in order to build a community around your clothing brand. I'm literally going to put it as the first line in the description so you can't miss it. We are really looking forward to meeting you. If you found this video helpful and would like to see me review and critique your content, then click the video on screen now. It's going to show you how to move from a product focus to a community-focused clothing brand with your content strategy, and heck, maybe even see some similar results to Quantata. So I'll see you over there. And please don't forget to book in your free community roadmap if you have not already. Thanks for watching.